Same Jets, same promises, same ending. Today, going to figure out why and whether this franchise can finally be fixed. Welcome back to With the First Pick on this edition of The Perfect Fix. Going to try our best to fix the New York Jets. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's former Titan GM Rand Carthon. Before we get going, if you're watching or listening and you're a hardcore Jets fan, you've endured some pain. I understand that. Let us know in the comments, what's the first thing you need to fix? I know you're going to say get rid of the owner. The owner, as Rand likes to say, cannot fire himself. But outside of perhaps moving on from Woody Johnson, what are some of the other things that are at the top of the to-do list for the New York Jets, who have been on the struggle bus for a very long time? Rand, I looked it up. Last time they won more games than they lost was 2015. Didn't make the playoffs that year. Last time they went to the playoffs, 2010. Rex Ryan was the coach, and Mark Sanchez was in year 2. So it's been a minute, as the kids say. So I talked about Woody Johnson, the owner. They hired Darren Muji. They hired Aaron Glenn about a year ago. They also signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, and it feels fair to say that he's probably taken his last snap as a starter in New York. They also traded Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner for the trade deadline. So they have a ton of ton of draft capital, but they have a ton of questions as well. So, Rand, I'm going to lean on you like I always do as my front office brains of the operation. Number 6 in salary cap space available. The Jets will find themselves this spring around $102 million available. Is what I found. A lot of things that need to be fixed. Starting with the quarterback situation, I'm going to throw some free agents out at you. We can start there, and then you can take it any direction you want to. So these are some Jets free agents soon to be after the season concludes. Right now, we're recording this heading into Week 18. So Breece Hall, their best player on offense, his contract's up. Andre Sisco, the safety. Left guard John Simpson, who they signed and started every game this year. Quincy Williams, Quentin's brother, who plays linebacker. Elijah Vera Tucker, former first-round pick, who is really good when he's healthy. He's also really unhealthy, unfortunately. And finally, maybe their best player overall, Nick Folk. So any of those names stick out to you as guys you want to bring back? And then the follow-up question will be, what are we doing with Justin Fields?
So start with Breece Hall. This is something we talked about for a very long time, even especially around the trade deadline, because there were some thoughts about trading him or teams saying that he should be traded. I believe teams did call on him and they weren't willing to move on. But I followed that up with, well, why haven't you extended him? Why haven't you gotten a deal done with him, which I think they should do. Now, I don't know if you're waiting on to franchise him possibly, or maybe you don't want to commit long-term cash to the position. I know head coach Aaron Glenn has said to Jets fans that we have a plan. So I'm just interested to see what that plan is as it pertains to Breece Hall, because like you said, he's probably, if not the best, he's one of the best players that they have on their football team. So getting him done. Elijah Vera Tucker is another one. You hit the nail on the head when he's healthy. And that's been a big question, is when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's one of the better young guards in the league, and I think you get it done depending on what that number is, because that guard number in that upper echelon group is north of $20 million a year now. And so, he was one. John Simpson, I think you try to get him back at a reasonable number if you can. And I think beyond that, I think you can find other guys as you move forward. Now, again, we're talking about defensively. You mentioned Andre Sisco. You mentioned Quincy Williams. They moved on from their defensive coordinator currently. Chris Harris, the passing game coordinator, is the interim defensive coordinator. So now it's to be a matter of who will be the next defensive coordinator, and I think that determines on where they go on the defensive side of the ball. But you mentioned Justin Fields. And he was number one for me just in terms of restructure candidates. Is there a way that you could restructure his deal? He's due $23 million next year. I think the dead cap number may be 22, if I'm saying that correctly. $22 million. Is that something that you're just willing to just take on? To take on that number and just move on from him. The other guy for me is Brandon Stevens. I think Brandon Stevens was a solid. It's been a solid corner for him, a guy that can get you by as a starter. But he's carrying a $19.5 million cap number for next year. I think his base salary is 14. I think that would be a number that you should want to try to restructure, get that number a little bit lower as you move forward. But you talked about this team, and I may be jumping ahead here, Ryan, but
Yeah, go for it.
well positioned. And again, it's all a crapshoot, right? This draft process, this free agency process, it's all a crapshoot. It's all a gamble. But the best thing about being able to gamble, as they say in the gambling world, big bank takes little bank. And in this world, to having a big bank is having draft capital. And right now, they're entering the draft with 13 draft picks for 2026, with 2 picks in the first round, 2 picks in the second round, two fives, 3 6s, and 3 7s. So again, having more shots and being able to build and construct a full roster. But then you look at 2027, and you enter 2027 with 3 first-round draft picks. So that's 5 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years. And you talk about being able to fill out a roster and build a full football team. They've spent a ton of resources on the offensive line in terms of first-round picks. You have a second-round pick in the backfield, Brees Hall. If you keep him, you have a top 5 pick at running back. At wide receiver that you've got extended. So they are one of those teams, and I know we'll talk about a little bit later. Is will they be a playoff team? We'll hit that a little bit later. But right now, you have cap space. You have 99 million is what the number is currently, Ryan. They have 99 million in cap space that they'll be able to spend. And most of that will likely be able be spent on the guys like Brees Hall, Elijah Vera Tucker, because when you look at it, how many free agents are going to be willing to want to come to the New York Jets, which means they're going to have to pay a premium. So if there's a top price free agent out there, they're going to have to overpay to get them to come. So that's one. So you have cap space, you have draft picks, so you're well positioned to kind of really flip this roster if you make the right calls.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned paying a premium when you come to the Big Apple, which seems like a crazy thing to say. That sounds like something you say historically if you're going to send someone to Buffalo, but maybe that script is flipped. I'm going to throw a couple names at you. We know that Garrett Wilson has begged at times to have some help at wide receiver. He was injured for much of the last half of the season. These guys are going to be up. Their contract's going to expire, and I don't know what their future holds with their current teams, but they seem like they might be, quotation marks, reasonable given the salary cap space that the Jets currently have, and obviously would help this team. There's a lot of other things to sort out, including quarterback. Romeo Doubs is 26. Jalen Coker, who came out of nowhere out of Holy Cross, has been a lot of fun for Carolina. He's 24. And then Hollywood Brown is 28. And Hollywood Brown might actually come at a bargain. He hasn't quite hit the stride that the Ravens had hoped back in the day. So any of those names strike you as potentially feasible in the real world?
I don't know that they're going to move the needle for the team, though.
Right? But it's a number 2, though. It's a number 2 to help Garrett.
But even as a number 2, I think if you sign or commit any type of real money to those guys, I think it's going to lead you right back to asking that question in a couple years. Okay. But then the tricky part too is if you're dressing the number 2 wide receiver position in free agency comes before the draft. So that question still looms is who's going to be throwing us the football. And so that to me, it's a situation where you're going to have to probably address it via the draft and find you a good number 2 wide receiver via the draft again. And this is if they don't move up to go get their quarterback. Now, right now, I think Stryker, you could probably put the graphic back. Oh, they're sitting at number 3.
Yeah,
we know the Giants don't need a quarterback. Now, the question remains: will Arizona move up? Will Cleveland move up? Right? We think. I know I've mentioned before. Will New Orleans move up? But New Orleans, I feel like they have their quarterback now. And so, if you're Miami, let's go as far as Miami. Is Miami willing to move up to go get a quarterback? So that becomes the bargaining chip for the Giants. Or if you're the Jets, do you just say, hey, we'll move up one spot and give up the lesser of our second-round picks, right, to secure that you're going to get a quarterback at 2 and you're not worried about someone else jumping you. But again, you still will maintain your 2 first-round picks, which would allow you to get your quarterback, let's just say in the top 3, get your quarterback there, and then be able to address the wide receiver position via the draft, whether it's at the top of the second or at the first round pick, with your pick that you're getting from the Cowboys, which right now would be at 14, right? Is it the Cowboys pick or is it it's the Colts pick, excuse me. So it'll be at pick 18. And so that'll be a prime position to get one of those wide receivers there as the draft currently stands. But I don't think that you go out and you commit a ton of money to a Hollywood Brown or a Jalen Coker, those types, because, again, you're going to be right back down the road because they're going to be pseudo twos and not real number twos.
So a couple things. We don't know how many quarterbacks are going to come out just yet. We've been talking for months about Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore and Ty Simpson. If there's not much difference in the Jets' mind between Dante Moore and Ty Simpson, I don't think you give up that second-round pick to move at one spot. If you love them, okay, that's fine. Only because they have so many needs. And the other thing I want to say, after watching the way this young man has played the last few weeks, any interest in Malik Willis?
I mean, Malik has played well, but I think if you're Malik, you have to question now why would I go here? And again, what type of money are they going to commit to Malik?
Right?
Are they going to pay him at the level that they paid Justin Fields at? This past year, a 2-year deal, around 20-something million a year. We don't know. So if you're Malik, I would want to know what is the commitment you guys are willing to make to me, and not look at him more so as a bridge quarterback. But going back to what you were saying about the draft, it isn't about whether you feel like Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore are neck and neck. To me, the move up, right, because you're sitting at number 3 and the Giants at number 2, the move up is to ensure that no one jumps you to get the other quarterback, whoever that is. So to me, that just solidifies your ability to get a quarterback, because the Giants are going to shop this pick. They're going to shop the pick to Arizona. They're going to shop the pick to Cleveland. They're going to shop the pick, to those teams that they feel like need a quarterback, and they could charge a premium for it. And if they're able to get their number, then I'm sure they'll go at it. So that's why I say it should be an option for them to move on from one of those seconds if you want whatever quarterback it is. We had a conversation last night, Pete Prisco and I, about if Dante Moore should come out. And we were talking with Danny Cannell and what we're hearing. And there's some talks, and I've talked to some NFL folks, that even the NFL folks are hearing that Dante Moore could go back. But if you're Dante Moore, and this is Pete Prisco's theory, and I think he has a great point. If you're Dante Moore, you go back to Oregon, right? And let's just say, we know Oregon has deep pockets. Let's just wink that he's just going back to Oregon for $5 million.
Uncle Phil. You didn't
pretty
say
sure
Uncle
it'll
Phil.
be a little bit more there. But let's just say he goes back for $5 million. Why would you return back for $5 million when you could be a top 2, top 3 pick and come out and get a guaranteed $40 million? But here's where Pete Prisco's theory comes in, and I never thought about it this way, but I believe it, is it puts you now 1 year closer to hitting that mega deal. Right? It puts you 1 year closer to hitting that mega deal as an NFL starting quarterback, which now gets you closer to $200 million, $300 million in what these deals look like right now. So Dante Moore has shown that his decision-making defies conventional logic, because he chose to go to Oregon to sit behind Dylan Gabriel and get recalibrated, get a reset, which has worked for him. Now let's see if he'd be able to turn down a fully guaranteed $40 million for $5 million to stay at Oregon.
The other thing that you have to worry about is that and Dante Moore is a special player, and there's research that shows that you can be a successful NFL quarterback without having, the Bill Parcells 50 starts or whatever. But the other thing you have to worry about, and I would march these 3 guys right in front of you like you were having an intervention: Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, and Drew Aller, all guys who went back. And all guys who went from first-round conversation to day 3 possibilities. So you have to be careful, and some of that's injury-related and whatever else. So I think that's something else you have to think about, in addition to Pete's point about you're one step closer to getting Patrick Mahomes money the sooner you start the clock on your NFL future. I think the Malik Willis thing's going to be interesting in terms of where he ends up, because he has outplayed Justin Fields a year ago when Justin was at Pittsburgh and sharing time with Russ Wilson. Like, Malik Willis looks like a different player than the one that started in Tennessee. And maybe that's a function of sitting and learning. Maybe that's a function of being with LaFleur. I don't know, but I thought he played at a pretty high level given the reps he had. And we'll see what that means for him. He may not want to go to New York, like you point out. By the way, you talk about all these draft picks and the salary cap space. Draft needs for the Jets, you could everybody. Quarterback, wide receiver, interior offensive line, depending on what happens with Elijah Vera Tucker. Cornerback, they moved on from Sauce. Safety, we talked about Andre Cisco being up. Linebacker. So there are thousands of needs that need to be filled. And if you're a Jets fan, let us know where are you starting that conversation, whether in free agency or whether in the draft. Quarterback is obviously one. Is Malik Willis something you would be interested in? Are you all in on trading up for Fernando or Dante Moore? Let us know in the comments. I'll read them and maybe even respond to some of those things if you're nice. Just kidding.
And I want to follow up too, Jets fans. Let us know in the comments if you'd be willing to trade one of those second-round picks, or if it's a fourth-round pick to move up one spot to secure your quarterback of the future. Drop it in the comments. Let us know what you guys think.
Fourth rounder I can get behind. All right, Striker, play that clip.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Truer words have never been spoken when talking about this Jets team. Like I mentioned, haven't won a playoff game since 2010. Back-to-back years, 09 and 10, they went to the AFC Championship game, if I recall correctly. Rex Ryan, I think, was in his first 2 years with Mark Sanchez. Mark was a first-round pick back in 09, and it has been slim pickings ever since. This doesn't feel like a 2023 Texans situation or 2024 Commanders situation just because there's so many things to fix. You got your GM, you got your head coach. I don't think Muji or AG are going anywhere. You can tell me if you disagree with that. But how many things have to go right for this team to win more games than they lose in 2026? Let's start there.
I mean, first of all, let's just talk about this division that they're in and what the Patriots are doing right now. You got Buffalo. And for everything we say, Miami's not – like Miami still won games. And up until a couple weeks ago, they still had an outside chance of making the playoffs. So it's just a tough division for them to be in. But they have to hit on these – so what is this, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Over these next two drafts, they have 22 draft picks.
Ooh.
They got to hit at a high percentage on those.
Right.
And that's what it's going to boil down to. So for me, I'm looking more so at this team potentially challenging for the playoffs, arguably in 2027, because that'll now give you the full 2026 draft class and the 2025 draft class, which we hadn't talked about, which has been a solid class.
Yep.
Then the 26 free agency cycle, and then the 26 draft class, the 27 free agency cycle, and then the 27 draft class. So let's get through those two, and then I think we'll be talking about potentially they'll arguably be fighting for a playoff spot.
Yeah, Darren Muji and AG did a good job with this draft class. Their first one, Armand Membu was their first-round pick. He's a starting right tackle. Mason Taylor. Jason Sun is the tight end. Azariah Thomas, the cornerback. Those are their first three picks. The year before, in the previous regime, Olafashanu, Malachi Corley was a bust. They cut him shortly thereafter. That draft class didn't exactly crush it. The one before that, though, Will McDonald IV, Joe Tippmann. That was about it. Some other guys, Israel Abakanda has since been cut. Carter Warren, I don't think ever worked out. He had injuries coming in. I don't remember what how his NFL career's been thus far. But you're right. They got to hit. That's the bottom line. And that's the reality of it. Because good drafts can go a long way in fixing the mistakes that might otherwise be there, especially on day three. The other thing, of course, they got to get the quarterback right. We'll see what that ends up looking like in the coming weeks and months. So that's it. Again, let us know in the comments what you think about the Jets' chances. Anything that we didn't talk about here, let us know in terms of ways to fix this Jets team and to do it quickly. If you think the Jets are a playoff team in 2026, I would love to hear that and the reason why, because I want what you're smoking, I think is a good way to put it, because that would be Crazy Town USA. All right, thanks as always. Hit subscribe while you're there, and check back often because we'll be fixing every single team that misses the playoffs.